Good evening, welcome. Thank you for joining us for this wonderful opportunity to meet the candidates whose names are going to appear on the November 6th election ballot. At this time, I'd like to remind you to please turn off or silence your cell phones if you haven't already done this in respect to all the participants here today. Tonight, the forum is being sponsored by the Charles City branch of AEW, Association of University Women, and the Charles City Area Chamber of Commerce. We also have the Charles City Public Access Network that's videotaping for us tonight, so we'd like to thank them. My name is Yolanda Van Arsdell, and I'm your moderator for this evening's event. Just a reminder that this is a forum format and not a debate. So the purpose is to allow the voters in our community an opportunity to hear from and evaluate the candidates who are campaigning in this election to serve us in Floyd County and the state of Iowa offices. So just a few more housekeeping procedural guidelines. Again, make sure your cell phone's off. In this day of smartphones, we need to make sure that they're off. Questions could have been submitted previously to the chamber office, but this evening to submit a question, you can either go over to the table where there's some cards, or you can just raise your hand and somebody will bring you a card and a pen if you do not have one. And somebody, actually Anna Vernon, will bring it to you or somebody else. On the top of the card, we would like to have you note the name of the office to which the question is addressed, because each of the candidates will be asked the same question, so please address that to the office. When you finish writing your question on the card, a monitor is going to come around, raise your hand, and they'll collect the card. And I'd like to thank Ann Burnham for collecting the cards this evening, and then Norma Breitbach for being at the door and assisting when everybody was coming in. Questions can be submitted until 7:45 this evening. And each candidate, as I indicated, will have the opportunity to answer each question as selected by the committee. The responses to the questions during this forum are going to be limited to 1 minute. If a number of similar questions are written and asked, they'll only ask that question one time. And I want to thank Mary Lou Wohlers, Jody Flynn, and Judy Mulcahy for assisting in the task of reviewing our questions this evening. I also ask that we please limit the questions to issues, policies, and new ideas that you may have, and not any personal questions. Again, each candidate will have up to 1 minute for their opening remark, and then 90 seconds at the end for closing remarks. Our timekeeper tonight up front is Mary Lou Monroe, and I think she has some assistance from
Joseph.
Okay.
Seventh grader.
So we thank you for assisting Mary Lou tonight too. She's going to signal when the candidates have 30 seconds remaining and then 50 seconds remaining. And then of course when your time is expired at 1 minute. The audience members will not be able to address questions directly to the candidates during this forum, but you're welcome to talk to the candidates after the forum has concluded. The candidates have also been invited to provide campaign handouts, and they're on the table to the east of the water. We hope you enjoy and learn something tonight, and encourage everyone to get out and vote on November 6th. So the candidates for this evening, make sure I get this right. We have Floyd County Supervisor candidates Doug Kam, incumbent, Stuart Dalton, Roy Schwickerath, and Michael Stout. Floyd County Treasurer Frank Rottinghouse, incumbent, and Todd Schreiber. Did I pronounce it? Okay. The unopposed candidates on hand tonight, Deb Roberts, recorder, and State District Representative District 52 Representative Todd Pritchard. They'll be around if you would like to ask questions after the forum. County Attorney Rachel Yinby is not here at this time, but she may show up later. So we also ask that you hold your applause until the end of the forum. So, now that we have all the housekeeping taken care of, let's begin the forum. And I would, Stuart, would you like to come up and give your opening remarks?
Thank you. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight, this cool evening. My name is Stuart Dalton. I've been here in Charles City since February 1992. I'm an Upper Iowa graduate. I'm retired, I oversaw a group home here in town for Liberty Square, and I was also the CBS director. And I have a dual degree in psychology and human services. I have 2 children and 1 grandchild. And what I hope to offer in my job is experience in human services, which is one of our major expenditures. And also want to provide probably some new insights and some already ongoing problems with expenditures, taxes, and to work on maybe what my goals I've talked about before this at the Farm Bureau would be tweaking the Master Matrix program. So again, thank you for coming out, and thank you for your time.
Good evening. I'd like to thank you all for being here. I am Doug Cam, and I'm a lifelong resident of Charles City, Floyd County, along with my wife, Jean Ann. I have 2 grown sons, 2 lovely daughter-in-laws, and 3 grandchildren. Together, we have operated our excavating business out of Charles City for 42 years. I've had the privilege of being a Floyd County supervisor for the last 8 years. During that time, it's been important and fun to make myself accessible to every Floyd County citizen, and most importantly, to listen to each one of you regarding concerns, issues, and then bring those concerns back to the other supervisors. I feel I've been very successful working as a team of 3, and with your help, I look forward to extending my knowledge and expertise to the benefit of Floyd County citizens for the next 4 years. Thanks.
Hello, I'm Roy Swickrath, running for Floyd County Supervisor. First off, I'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce and the American Association of University Women for doing this tonight and giving us the opportunity to talk to the citizens of Floyd County. A little bit of my history. My wife is here tonight, Deb. She's a teacher in Clarksville. I have 3 married children, 6 grandchildren, which I'm very proud of. And I grew up in Floyd County. I've been here since I was 7 years old. I served as a firefighter for 32 years. The last 14 as the fire chief. So if you've seen my name or seen my picture, that's where you've seen me a lot of times. Helping people, I guess. I did serve 4 years as a Floyd County supervisor previously. Got defeated in the last election. I'm running again. I served on many boards and commissions. I think I represented the county very well on those boards and commissions. I put a good face forward. I think it's, thank you.
Hello, thank you for coming out tonight. I'm Mike Stout. I've been married to my wife for 25 years, Stacy. I got 4 children, one in Washington, D.C., one's a senior at Iowa State. I got a daughter at Nyack, her 2nd year, and a senior at Rockford High School. My background is I've been on many boards. The longest serving board I was on was a co-op board. I was on that for about 16 years. I've been on the parish council at my church at Roseville, and I currently serve on the ORMR school board in my 2nd term. Thank you.
I'm Frank Rottinghouse. Thanks to the sponsors for providing this chance for the public to better equip themselves to make wise choices when voting this fall. I've been the county treasurer since August of 1993. Prior to that, I was involved in my family's farming and feed and grain business. My wife, Pat, who's in the audience, has recently retired from a position as high school counselor in the Charles City School District. We have 2 daughters and 5 grandchildren. My entire life has been spent in Floyd County. Until I was 10 years old, my family lived on a farm east of Rockford. We then moved to a farm northeast of Charles City. I graduated from Immaculate Conception High School and received an AA degree from the North Iowa Area Community College and a bachelor's degree in business management from the University of Northern Iowa. Currently, I'm a member of the Charles City Area Chamber of Commerce. I've been a longtime board member of the Charles City Dollars for Scholars and have served several terms as president. I'm a member of the Knights of Columbus, and I just completed 2 years as the Grand Knight. I appreciate this opportunity and thank you all for attending this evening.
Hello, my name is Todd Schreiber. Born and raised in Floyd County. I live in Marble Rock. Been on city council for 2 terms. I've been on the trustees in our church. And married to my wife Lynette for 24 years. We have 1 daughter at the University of Iowa. And I served in the Marine Corps, 1981 in Desert Storm. And I've managed businesses and managed a campground in East City for 7 years and look forward to serving in the public here, like working with the public. Thanks again for coming out and enjoy the night.
This chair is so beautiful. My first question, and this would go to all of the candidates, and for both the supervisors and the treasurer, is what is your primary motivation for running for this office? Let's start with Frank.
Well, I appreciate the question, and I think it's very valid. I have enjoyed being county treasurer, and I think I'm equipped to do the job well. I enjoy meeting new people and welcoming them into the community. We have had a number of new people enter the community, and being in the treasurer's office, dealing with driver's licenses and vehicle registration gives me an opportunity to meet them and welcome them to our community, and that's something I really do enjoy.
I feel the same way. I like working with the public and meeting new people, and sometimes I believe change is good. I believe I have enough experience in the past jobs I've had that I can do a good job. I don't have the experience he has, but I do have the same amount of experience he had when he took the job. And I guess I just would like a chance and do a good job.
I guess the motivation for running is I just always enjoyed being on boards. I've been on boards probably 20-some years. I guess I co-op boards, parish board, school board. I just like getting involved, knowing what's going on. I actually enjoy doing things like the budget. I know that sounds a little crazy, but it's just something I kind of enjoy doing. The county, there's a lot of things going on. There's a big learning curve for me if I was elected, but I would take that challenge and hope I could represent the people of Floyd County the best I could.
Well, my past history sort of explains itself. I've served people for a lot of years. You know, being with the fire department was service to the people. And I feel that my experience level, my knowledge level, is a real plus for the community of Floyd County. And I really think that I would like to use that knowledge level and continue serving people in Floyd County. And I think this is a good opportunity for me and also for the people of Floyd County to get a good person in that position. So any votes again, appreciate it.
My motivation for this thing goes back quite a while. When I was at the beginning of the term last time, or the two terms ago, 8 years ago, I found myself, we were kind of in between. Our kids were older and they had left home, off to college. The Boy Scouts, I spent a lot of time in the Boy Scouts, and I was just looking for something to do. And I had a lot of, at that time, a lot of people were listening to Fox News and got themselves excited. And I finally decided I was either going to put up or shut up, either run or be quiet. So I did, and I found out that I really do enjoy this job. I like talking to people and hope to continue.
Well, my primary goal again would be public service. I feel that I'm obligated to do whatever I can for the community that I live in and for the country I live in and so on. I have had some experience on boards. I've been on the Arts Council for about 8 years as a director, and I also was on the old case management, Floyd County Case Management Advisory Board. My wife and I were there for about 15 years. Our daughter has special needs, and I do have a certain affinity to working with special need programs, mental health, mental retardation, disabled. And part of it is I'm doing this partly for my family, I'm doing this partly for the community, and I'm hoping to apply some good practical knowledge in one of our largest areas of expenditure, which is social services in our county. And also I'm hoping to, I enjoy working with people, I enjoy working on things that we can have some effect on. Thank you.
This question is for the Board of Supervisors. How do you think the public perceives the Board of Supervisors? And Roy, we'll start with you this time.
Well, I've knocked on a lot of doors this campaign season, and interestingly enough, one of the questions that I get a lot of times is, what does the Board of Supervisors do? And so I can say that the public is not really aware of what we do. They expect us to do our jobs, and I think that that's the important thing. They expect us to be fiscally responsible, which I think is very important. They expect us to spend their tax money wisely and get things done appropriately. And but interestingly, the public as a whole doesn't always know what the Board of Supervisors' duties are. And it's a very important job within the county. We oversee the taxes. We make sure that that money is spent properly. We work as a liaison or a group that helps. I'll let Doug answer.
A supervisor's job really is to control the budget. That is the most important thing. And supervisors are managers of Floyd County. We are not the king. We are not the almighty. We are managers of Floyd County. And a lot of times we're a resource. You know, people come and ask us, you know, can you solve this? Can you solve this? Most of the time we can't solve this. Again, our primary job is to keep track of that budget. And any other department will tell you, you know, that Doug is he's a mean one when it comes to setting those budgets. Not really. But that is the primary job. And it's, again, we are a team of 3 managers.
The Board of Supervisors, as they said, oversees the budget, also oversees much of the day-to-day running of the finances overall. one thing I have to provide, and sometimes, and I've done a lot of door-to-door too, is that we need to provide transparency, and we need to provide a working knowledge of what we're spending money on. We need to be very careful. We need to go over these line budgets very carefully, which I think most of them have been doing for the past number of years. But it needs to, we have to be open and welcoming to the public that comes in. We need to educate them. Maybe if they're not fully agreeing what we're doing, maybe we need to educate why we're doing it. Not just be autocratic and say, well, that's because I said so. I think part of our job is, like I said, working with the public, working with the budget, overseeing day-to-day things, and being transparent. Thank you.
As a part of the public, I guess the current supervisors and the past supervisors, I have a lot of respect for. I'm sure it's not an easy job. The gentleman here talked a lot about the budget, but I think there's a lot of other things that the supervisors do and take care of. And I think the biggest thing that the supervisor needs to do is listen to you people, listen to the constituents of Floyd County, the citizens of Floyd County. Sometimes you guys have the best ideas, and I think we as supervisors, if we're elected, we need to bring that to the table and talk amongst the three, be a good cohesive group, and work together to do what's best for Floyd County.
Thank you. The next question is a similar question except for the county treasurer's office. How do you think the public perceives the county treasurer's office? And
I think the public sees it as an important position, in that I don't know for sure if they understand how much there is to it. It's a very important job, but they do expect to be serviced right and treated fairly, and I just think that they don't realize how much there is really to the job. But I look forward to the chance to show them that I can do it. Thanks.
I guess I would agree that there are oftentimes people who don't realize all the duties that are incorporated in the treasurer's office. The vehicle registration, the collection of taxes, the distribution of the tax money to the many taxing entities that are recipients of property taxes, and the issuance of driver's license. That's something that people don't realize. They think that the Department of Transportation comes in and does that, and it's truly, I'm the Chief Driver's License Examiner for Floyd County, and there are 2 people in my office that are trained to do many of the important parts of the job. I do driving tests myself in cars. We just, as of the 1st of July, we stopped doing CDLs because of the small volume that we had to work with, and we could not adequately administer the driving test because we were doing a very small number of drives, so we discontinued that July 1st.
this question is again for the county treasurer's office. What is the biggest thing that you want people to know about the treasurer's office?
I guess from my perspective, I would like to know that the public understands that as we do our job there in the office, we try and be as fair as we can to everyone and try to treat everyone respectfully. We do have difficult decisions to make, and we try to make them in a fair and balanced way and do it in a friendly manner. Everyone comes into the office, or most everyone comes into the office and leaves with less money than they had when they came. So we sometimes get people who are not too happy with us, but I hope that people understand that we're doing the best we can and we try and do it in a fair manner.
I agree with Frank. The people don't come in there to spend money and be happy about it, but I would like them to see it as a place they can come and be treated fairly and friendly get the best service that we can give them. And that's about it. Otherwise,
This is a more specific question for the Board of Supervisors. I live on 240th Street. All the above water is coming on the hills. It's been over the road 4 times. This also, about half goes in my field. We need a bigger culvert to handle this water. Done.
Believe me, that's a reoccurring story this year. My mother is 90 years old, and I asked her the other day after she grew up my grandfather bought the farm down on Clarksville Road in the 30s. So she grew up her whole entire life there, and I asked her the other day, had water ever gotten in Jensen's field? Had water ever been over Maynard's? Never. And this year it's been over 4 times. So and I was talking to Leo Star, it's a very similar story all over Floyd County. And culverts don't solve the issue. I did explain to a guy, the secondary roads funds is to provide roads for the Floyd County. It is not to provide drainage for Floyd County. You're allowed to use the road ditches for drainage, but unfortunately they're inadequate for the type of rains and the frequency of the rains that we've had lately. So my heart bleeds for everybody out there that's in that similar situation, but there's not a lot we can do. Thank you.
He's right. Ditches are not for primarily drainage, they're used for drainage. But maybe we need to develop ditches that can be used for drains, maybe retaining centers where for ponds and so on, or we can hold excess water. I know it is the weather is a bit freaky this year, but I don't think it's going to get much different over the coming years. I think there's a major change coming. And I think we need to plan for it. Just on a local level here, the Art Center had some flooding in the basement, and what it was is water coming up from a drain we had in a walkway leading down to an elevator. The pipes that the city said they were developed originally 100 years ago, and they were more than adequate. But now, from the city engineer saying that every year after year, the water is getting worse and worse and worse. So I think we have to plan ahead, maybe think of 100 years from here for enough drainage and enough retaining to keep the water from flooding.
I guess in my opening statements, I didn't comment either on a farm. I have been a farmer all my life. I grew up on a farm, grew up on a gravel road. I know there's a lot of issues out there with gravel roads, culverts, a lot of those issues. We talked about the budget, and I know about 1/3 of the budget is roads and bridges for Floyd County. And I think if you have an issue, I think you probably need to talk to the county engineer and maybe have them look at it first and see what they can do as far as helping to fix your problem, or see if there is a way to fix your problem. The supervisors oversee that, but I think maybe if we go chain of command and let them see what they can do first, and then if they can't do something, I'm sure they'll bring it to the supervisors to help solve that problem.
Yeah, as my previous people here said, the rainfalls we've had this year are just horrendous. Our culverts that are under driveways were designed, if you talk to the county engineer, to carry so much rain basically in a certain length of time. And the rains that we've had have been above normal. I know I was between Rudd and North Springs one day, heading for North Springs, and I looked, there's a bridge just past the city of Rudd, and I looked upstream from it, and it looked like the Mississippi River coming down at me, which is normally just a small stream. And so that's an example of the amounts of water we have had. Maybe we do need to look in the future and try to figure out how we deal with more water if this is going to be the norm. But it's not a short-term fix. The budget is only what the budget is. And if we were to look at that, we have to figure out how it's going to be paid for. And secondary roads is the most important thing.
This is, again, a more general question. Should party politics play a role in county government?
I guess that's not a choice really, because we do have a system where party politics do play a role in that Democrats and Republicans and people get nominated by petition as well. For the most part though, I think that partisan politics really don't enter into any of the decisions we make. We try to make those for the good of our neighbors and friends in the county, and look at the big picture. And in my case, as treasurer, I try to do a job as efficiently as I can and as friendly and respectfully as I can, and that's all we can do. And I really don't see politics entering into the way I deal with the public.
That's the same here. I go by what I think is right, and there's good ideas on both sides, and bad ideas on both sides, of course. And I think the people just need to get together and make good decisions and look at the big picture, like Frank said, and find a good solution. And it shouldn't really matter which person come up with the idea. A good idea is a good idea, either way.
At this level, I think what we have to look at is the person for the job. I think it was best put to me in Illinois, where I lived a brief period of time, is that the person who voted for the sheriff is who was the best cop. They voted for the treasurer who could do the books the best. You could have the county clerk who could organize and distribute the information the best. That's how you would hire it. I think with the county supervisors, you need to look for the best ones that are for the job. Party politics, yes, we use it. It's a good, nice platform for us on the Democratic and Republican Party. Provides some funding, provides us a support system, so to speak, for us to run. But no, on a local level, no, you need to elect the best person that you can find. Not worried about his politics.
I'll go to my grave maintaining that I'm not a politician. And at the county level, as I said before, there should be no politics whatsoever. We are, supervisors are a manager of Floyd County. The national party scene almost makes me sick. It almost seems like politics are a sport anymore, not a way to run a country. So that I still maintain there should be no politics whatsoever at the county level.
Well, I served 4 years beside this guy here, and we both run under different parties. But as we sat and did our jobs, you couldn't have told that most of the time. I don't believe, as a matter of fact, I can't think of any time in those 4 years that I really felt like we were on opposite sides. We had our disagreements. We voted what our conscience was. We voted what we thought the people wanted, but it wasn't because of politics. And while I served, there was discussion actually at the state level to do away with partisan politics in some of the county level elections. It didn't go anywhere, unfortunately. But at the county level in Floyd County, yeah, there is no such thing as partisan politics. And I have a lot of supporters on both sides.
Yeah, that's a very good question. I've been to some of the supervisor meetings this year recently, and as I sit there and watch them make decisions, I don't see Democrat, Republican. I just see through supervisors trying to make the best decision for the county. And with that being said, I'm very much, when I make a decision, I want to think through all options, weigh all the options, look at all the choices we have, and not make a knee-jerk reaction, but think through the question, think through the process, think through the best way to get things done. And I don't think it matters if you're Democrat, Republican, or Independent. I just think, we got to do what's best for the county, and that's how you all need to vote. Get to know the candidates and pick the candidate you think would do the best job.
This is a question for supervisors. Please explain your understanding of tax increment financing and why it exists or why it shouldn't exist.
Give me the hard question. I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know a lot about TIF yet. I do kind of understand the basics. I've had someone explain it to me once about like the windmills. When they put the windmills up, they want to do it in a TIF area so that they can TIF that whole area and use that tax to help pay for repairs and things like that. And I hope I'm explaining this right. I'm just going to be really honest with you. That's something I have to learn more about. Like I said, there's a learning curve to everything, and being a supervisor would be one thing that I need to know more about and be more educated on.
Well, my background with the city, it was my first experience with TIF because I was a fire chief, and of course it affected taxes. And I'll tell you what, without TIF, there are a lot of projects that we see within Floyd County that wouldn't have happened, and specifically Charles City, but it was a partnership. We actually have the only TIF that's a partnership between county and city that's right here in Floyd County, that's in the state of Iowa. That's what I was told the other day at least. Anyhow, but without TIF, we wouldn't have those developments sometimes. And you got to remember, if you TIF something for 10 years, 10 years from now, you start to collect tax on it and it helps pay for those services. But if you didn't do that TIF originally, you wouldn't have that business there at all. And so we never collect those taxes. We never help support the services that we all want. And so TIF is a very important tool for our counties, our cities, to support and promote those developments.
And I would concur. TIF can be a very important tool. The windmill farm here in Floyd County was actually a windfall, and that would have been back in Leo's day. And when the TIF district was created, you borrow against those future taxes. The backfill that they all talk about comes from the state. So you may not be paying it on the Floyd County side, but you're going to pay it on the state side. It's not free money for anybody. Again, every situation is different. Floyd County used it for some roads, some bridge improvements at a time when money was really tight. So it really wasn't that fault. We're seeing a lot of instances in the state of Iowa right now where it's being abused, and so it'll probably get reined in a little bit. But again, I'm not the expert. Every time it comes along, I do a lot of studying to try to figure out what's going on.
Well, I think the others explained it pretty efficiently. It is a revenue source for the counties, states, and other governments. But the one that we do have to be careful for, it is speculative. I mean, if, for example, the southwest area that they want to put a TIF program through community development, are they going to get businesses in there? Are they going to give them a break? Is that business going to stay there long enough for us to benefit from the taxes eventually? Who gets the money? If it's set by the county, it's putting the money out, is the money going to get the tax benefit, or is it going to be going elsewhere? There's certain things we have to be very careful with. They have to be observed and watched very carefully. It's a good thing if done right. It can be a very poor thing, and it can hurt the county if it's done wrong. So we have to depend on the people running our county and the city and so on to make sure that it is done right.
This is a question for the county treasurer's office. What is the biggest thing you want people to know about the treasurer's office?
I would like them to know exactly what's going on in there, and like them to know that when they go there, they'll get the best service possible, and they'll feel welcome there and friendly. Give them the best opportunity they can.
I guess I'd like to know that they're aware of all the opportunities that we have to use the internet and internet payment of your taxes and vehicle registrations, and also to make use of other resources we have, like the Department of Transportation's website that explains some of the questions and ideas that people have. Right now, there's a lot of discussion about the Real ID, which is going to go into effect in 2020, in October of 2020. People may be required to show additional identification if they're flying on an airplane or going into a federal building if they don't have the Real ID symbol on their license. And so that's been advertised some, but there's some confusion about it. And so there are resources at the Iowa Department of Transportation's website and other websites to answer those questions that people have.
This is a question for the supervisors. Would a composting system be a good idea for our county?
A composting system, we would have to end up with a general collection area. Right now, I think this probably comes back to somewhat of our collection site that we have out by the fairgrounds. And it is paid for through the secondary roads fund, so it's only available for citizens outside of the communities. And a composting area would most likely be put together the same way. Again, if we were going to do it, we'd have to look at what our cost is, where it would be located, and what the end result would be. It's really a cost-benefit type thing. Not saying that it couldn't be done, but it does cost taxes.
I guess I would really question why we need that. Is that for cities? Right now we have a rural collection system, which is at the fairgrounds, which is roughly near the center of Floyd County. And I keep reminding everybody that's about $160,000, $70,000 a year for that. There would not be enough room at that site for a composting thing. The only reason I keep reminding people how much that is, it's a tremendous cost. And the composting thing, you'd have to be careful. It could grow to that for every single community.
Again, it's a cost factor. Will it benefit enough the public for the cost? How many people will be using it? Again, the others have said, with the location, how big it's going to be, who's going to run it, who's going to oversee it, what's the licensing on it. There's a lot of ifs and whats on that. And I think it would be something definitely to look into. But will it be necessary, or will it be needed for the public? That would have to be seen.
Yeah, that's an issue I'd have to think more about, but I guess my first thought would be, I don't know if it would really be necessary for a couple of reasons. Like these guys said, cost prohibitive potentially. How much would it get used? But I guess it really comes back to cost. I think that's the biggest thing. Like I said, budget's a big thing for the county, and to stay on budget and have a plan and a reason for everything. So I guess it would have to be thought out a little bit more, but my gut reaction to this would be, that would be the biggest holdback.
We have about 5 minutes left that we would like to ask people. If you have any more questions, to please raise your hand if you don't have a paper, and raise your hand so we can get your questions asked. So you've got 5 minutes left. This is a question for all of the candidates. What is the biggest issue facing Floyd County in the next 3 years?
Well, I think I need to go to the economics that we're seeing in agriculture right now at this point. There's some real fears about the agricultural economy in regard to producers being able to make ends meet. I mean, the cost of production is high and the commodity prices are low. And what effect that may have in what financial financial condition are most of the producers in our county? Are they in really good shape, and can they weather some depressed prices? That's something that I'm concerned about.
In my eyes, I think it would be the loss of our kids. There's really nothing here to keep them. You know, we lose a lot to move into the big city for more opportunities. And it's not an easy fix. And I'm not sure what can be done about it, but I think that that's one of our big problems in Floyd County. By losing them, we also lose revenue, the population, we lose a lot of everything. It all like snowballs.
Our biggest issue right now, and for the next 10 years rather than 3 years, is our labor shortage. If you talk to any business in Floyd County, in the state of Iowa, everybody is looking for workers. That's why I think that economic development in Floyd County, which to me includes everything from conservation to anything we can do to attract kids, young people, to get them back here to be a part of Floyd County in the future.
I'm going to say again, we need to sustain our agricultural system. That is the basis for our economy and pretty much the economy of the world. If the farmers are not making enough money, and right now we have to look into some of the things out of our control, like weather and speculative prices, I think we have to look into that. Our county is growing older. It's not getting any younger on average. I think we, like the others have said here, we need to keep our children here in the county. We need to find good paying jobs. We need to find ways to not overtax the populace here and to provide quality education. All these, I think, are equal importance. All that ties in together. So I don't think there's just one thing we have to be aware of. I think there's many things we have to be aware of for the next 3 years.
Yeah, like Frank said, margins for farmers are very tight. Don't have to tell you guys that. Commodities are low. You know, look at the issues we have today, trying to get the crops out. I just think it's very important to support our ag community, support our livestock growers, our grain farmers, implement dealers, co-ops, so on and so forth. That's a huge issue. Labor force is key. And I think the biggest thing is just make this a place that young people do want to stay, and potentially young people want to move in and bring their families to Floyd County. And I think that's working with the area development people and just trying to bring new jobs to Floyd County.
Well, I think on that short term, that 3-year look, really the farm economy right now has everybody pretty nervous. And I'd like to say it's cyclic, but I hope it's not a trend. And it affects all of their economies. You know, they always say it affects that Main Street business as well as the farmer themselves. But you look at across Floyd County, you look at Hoover's Hatchery, you look at the Batas Tire Plant, you look at Zoetis. It's all ag-related industry. And so if farming goes south, it's going to be hard on all of us here in Floyd County. So I think ag industry is a big thing. We need to keep an eye on that and support our farming community as much as we possibly can.
This question is for everybody on the panel. What are your top 3 priorities for office?
I think the top 3 priorities for office would be the qualifications of the candidate, experience of the candidate, education of the candidate, in that order. It would be hard to have so many qualifications you need to be in office. I think it's a very thing. You have to get well along with people, you have to be diplomatic, you have to be political sometimes. And you need to be transparent and honest and open with the public, because they're the ones that are voting for you. So there's, I think, more than 3 that we need for qualifications for the office.
Maybe I misunderstood the question. I thought it said top 3 priorities, so I'm going to go with that. That's what I wrote down. Priority 1 would be the budget. First and foremost, budget, stay on track. The second would be the jail. I mean, community has voted for the jail, but I think it's very important to stay on track with the jail. I know it's a $13.5 million project. Let's make sure we stay at 13.5 or less. I know there's a committee that's overseeing that, and I'm sure they'll stay on top of that. That's very key. And the third thing I would say is a priority is bringing business to Floyd County. Future growth for Floyd County.
Well, yes, one of the top priorities is obviously the budget. The jail is part of that. That's $13.5 million. You as the taxpayers have agreed to spend to build a jail and upgrade our courthouse. Second priority is going to be industrial development, making sure we have a place for those kids to come back and live. I think it's very important that we work with businesses and industries because that's what's going to create jobs and is going to be good for Floyd County. Thirdly, my third priority is to make sure that I listen to all the citizens of Floyd County. I want to make sure that you feel represented by me as a Floyd County supervisor. So I want to make sure I listen to everybody, take your opinions into account. Again, I have to make those decisions, but I want to hear from everybody.
Yeah, the priorities that are going to be coming up here in the next 3 years. Number one, we want to be good managers, use common sense. Another thing that we're going to be faced with pretty soon is a hospital and some of the services that are going to be offered out there. And I believe that Floyd County is going to take a bigger and bigger part in managing that hospital or helping to manage that hospital. And the other thing top on the list is economic development. We just got to keep after that. There's no great big thing out there looming on the horizon, but we don't want to miss any opportunity to get whatever comes along.
I think the 3 priorities would be to continue to be efficient, and in our office we are fairly well cross-trained. In fact, I myself can do almost everything all the services that are required by the citizens, and so we want to continue to improve the ability to all of the employees to handle many of the routine tasks that come before them. The other thing would be to help the employees develop more skills and grow in their positions and give them opportunities to learn new skills and thereby better communicate and help the public. And also to find better ways to serve the public. Do we need to change how we're doing this or that? Or we're always looking for better ways to interact with the public.
I think the first one would be to maintain everything that they have going good there right now, and then the second one would be to check for improvements that we could do. Try to keep them the newest and latest stuff we can get for the county, and the third one would be to see what education that the employees that are there now need or want, to make them more efficient. Get their input and the public's input and try to work together.
This is a question for the supervisors. What is your opinion of what we are currently doing with the law enforcement center, and can we afford it?
My opinion of Law Enforcement Center is, I honestly haven't been upstairs to the jail, the old jail, but my understanding, it's pretty dilapidated, worn out, needs improvement. I think the jail is a very much needed thing. I think we're going from 12 beds maybe to 32 beds. It's not cheap to house our prisoners somewhere else either. So I think it's probably a necessary thing to build this. I just think it's very important to stay on track, and I think it's $10 million for the jail and 3.5 for the improvements of the old courthouse. I just think it's very important to stay on budget. I know you guys are getting tired of hearing about budgets, but I think it's very important because we want to spend the money that you guys approved. We don't want to spend any more than that.
Well, I'm not sure who asked that question, and I think that's one that a lot of people have on their minds. Can we afford it? And I guess I'd point back out to them, can we afford not to do it? Our jail is 75 years old, and it is substandard. It's like a lot of jails across the state of Iowa, and some of them have been replaced, some of them are going to be replaced. The question would be, do we do it now, or do we wait 5 years and do it in 5 years? And I think it's a very important thing. The courthouse itself, like Mike said, about $3.5 million, you can split it out that way. Some of it is going to be put in that courthouse. It is a very nice building, but it needs updating. If you look at the 40 air conditioners that stick out of that courthouse now, that's not the way to run a business. And if it was my business, I wouldn't want to run it that way. So I think the overall project is definitely needed for Floyd County.
Well, my feeling is I'm ecstatic after being in the building. The current courthouse was built in the 1940s, and actually not very much updating has ever been done other than maintaining the outside of it. And I'll swear that I never was in the jail when I was young. I only went there, I've been up there a few times, but actually went on one of the tours, the scheduled tours, and I'm gonna say that it's borderline torture up there. And the working conditions for our deputies up there is substandard. So I'm very, very happy that we're updating that law enforcement center. It takes us to the future. And the question I always ask, how many window air conditioners are in that courthouse? 58. Nobody will believe that until you tell them that. But it's going to be a real pleasure to have updated heating and cooling systems in the old part of the courthouse.
I think they'll actually save money on the long run with this. Because of the updating of the energy heating and cooling system in the old courthouse, I think that it'll run more economical and cost us less. I've seen the plans for all the floors and also for the law enforcement center, and they look good. The thing we do have to be careful with is when we started selling out the bonds to finance it, we need to get a low interest rate and a good yield out of it. Yes, I think we can afford it. It's badly needed. I've been up there professionally in the jail up there looking. I had clients, just to let you know, and occasionally I had to get in and get out. And it needs to be changed. It's very rough up there, and it's not safe for either for the prisoners or for the people watching the prisoners.
This is another question for the Board of Supervisors. Candidates, there has been a drop in state funding for the Floyd County Hospital. How should the Board of Supervisors support the hospital?
Well, as I stated in a couple earlier questions, it's got to be a cost-benefit analysis. And one thing the hospital needs to do, and they've got a very professional board, very professional people, they need to come to the county and they need to explain what that funding is going to do, and if they don't get the funding, what direction are we headed? And so I think the hospital is very important to Floyd County. I think it's very important to the area. We want to maintain it. There are other counties that absolutely fund their medical systems. I watched some of the other counties. Blackhawk County is going through a thing right now with their county-run elderly care facility. And you got to decide how much money you can afford to put towards it, and that's something that the county will have to do in the future. And I think it's coming at us, and we're going to have to decide if we're willing to do that. But it is a cost-benefit analysis.
I just mentioned that a moment ago that it is going to be an upcoming issue. Every year since I've been a supervisor, the first 7 years, we would get a letter from the hospital and say, we could be eligible for $2 million in tax action, but we don't need any. This year when we opened the letter, it was a much different story. And I've attended a couple of their meetings, and the numbers are just astounding. The income out there is $49 to $50 million and a profit of $4,500. That's cutting the margins pretty low. They're running short on cash. We're going to be talking with them more and more, and I think Floyd County will have to make a decision on how much we're willing to spend to keep that operation afloat.
Well, the initial problem with the Floyd County Hospital is not with the county, it's with the state and federal governments. With underfunding Medicare and Medicaid, that's where most of their expenditures are going. We need to go back, get rid of the private sector and state Medicaid. The government needs to pay more for Medicare and Medicaid payments. But again, it's something that the county is going to have to eventually come to. It's going to have to be how much can we afford, how much can we tax to pay for this, how much does the hospital need, do things need to be cut, where do they be cut? It's going to be a long discussion with them. So that's something that we're going to have to look at in the next coming years.
Yeah, I agree with these guys. When someone asked a question earlier, the biggest issue, some of the biggest issues, I guess we missed the boat on that. That will be a huge issue. You know, that hospital is very important. It's very nice to have. It's how we can fund it. If we can fund it, there'll have to be a lot of discussion between the boards and the supervisors, and we got to do the best we can. Of course, we'd all like to keep it, but it really comes down to if we can fund it or not.
This is a question for everyone on the panel. How will you stay in touch with your constituents if you are elected?
I guess I just make myself available and go around and visit with people, see if they have any good ideas or advice, I guess. The people that live here obviously know what's going on and have some pretty good ideas to share. That would be mine.
Well, I guess I always get an opportunity as treasurer to communicate with the constituents because you send them bills for their vehicle registration and their taxes. And we do have a Facebook presence. I don't know how well it's not being used very much yet, but people will come around to that, I believe. I also intend to continue to be involved in the community in a large fashion, and that's always helpful. Just continue to do the things I've done, and I guess I had one other point, but I've forgotten it, sorry.
Well, anybody can get a hold of me. My cell phone is not hidden, and I'm on call 24/7. Anybody can call. You can find it on our county webpage. There are emails. People have used every method to get a hold of us. You see it on the streets. Because of my business, I'm one of the few that travel the length and width of Floyd County almost weekly. I'm always out someplace, so I run into a lot of people. And again, anybody can call.
Well, I've been available. My previous job, I had to be within arm reach of my phone as part of the job, 24/7. Again, through social media, that'd be numbers they can reach me at the county. There'll be a phone number they can reach me at. There's an address they can reach me at. 2 addresses if you said at the county courthouse. In my previous job, I had to talk to a lot of people. I had to take a lot of questions and answer a lot of issues. So it'd be nothing new to me if I stopped the street and there's a good question. Would certainly try to answer it. I think there's other, I think the best way is just to stay in the public eye, be aware, be transparent, make yourself available. It's the best way to do it. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's very important for us to keep in touch. Of course, the phone, the emails, all that's fine, but I think being active in the community, being active in your church, going to your kids' sporting events, or just go to sporting events, because my youngest is a senior. I'll probably still go to some sporting events. I'm really involved in sporting. I actually coach, assistant coach on the Rockford High School team, varsity team. And it's kind of funny because I was at the homecoming parade for Rockford, and a gentleman come up to me, a friend of mine, and he started complaining about issues that he wants to take care of as supervisor. I said, well, wait a minute. I think there's an election coming up. I need to get elected first. So I kind of chuckled at that. But I think you as this constituents just can't be afraid to talk to the supervisors and talk to the people in charge. If you got an issue, bring it up, and we'll try to solve it.
Yeah, I think it's very important to be available. If you look at my card, for instance, the information on the bottom of it is my email address, home phone, cell phone, automatically. I want that out there. The other thing I did while I was supervisor is I tried to attend the council meetings at times across the county. The thing about that is you get that face-to-face and people feel like they know you. I may not always remember their names, trust me, but they do know who I am. And that's good. That's a way for me to get out. And they're within your communities. That's a contact for you. So if your council people know who I am, then they can get a hold of me. I've been to a few different coffees and stuff and get very good information from people. Want to be available. That's the most important thing is availability.
This is a question for the supervisors. Are all drainage wells closed?
It's a good question. That's something I don't know. I'm assuming many of them are some of them open? I'm assuming that some of those are, but I couldn't give you the numbers on that. That's something I would have to look at for you. Thank you.
Are all drainage wells closed? I believe the majority of the drainage wells are closed, but there's also another thing called sinkholes. Sometimes they get confused. Sinkholes are a lot different than a drainage well. If you look up on a map, a geographical map of Floyd County, there are a number of sinkholes in the county. Sinkholes do not have to be closed. It's a natural part of how the water gets into the ground, into the aquifer, so on and so forth. With that being said, sinkholes, we need to be very careful and cautious as farmers and everybody with pesticides and chemicals and manure. I think the farmers in this county do a great job of managing that, and I think the Extension Office is a very good source to help manage that. And I think if we continue down the path where the farmers in this county do, we'll be fine. But I think the drainage well sinkhole, there's a big, sometimes that's conflicting on the difference. There's a big difference.
I look at all as a big word because that means that there absolutely is no drainage wells left in Floyd County, and I can't answer that. I'm fairly certain there was a program a few years ago, maybe quite a few years ago, to assist farmers in closing those drainage wells. I think if there are drainage wells out there, they need to be closed. Mike is right, there are a lot of sinkholes. I know up around the Floyd area, there's quite a few. Actually, down where Doug grew up, I know there's a few down there also. And those aren't drainage wells, they are sinkholes. But if there's a drainage well that truly was made as a well that drained surface water, and it's legally supposed to be closed, then it should be closed. and we should figure out how to get that done. But again, it has to be determined exactly what it is.
That's a pretty specific question. I just happen to know because of the business I'm in, there are 3 registered drainage wells still left in Floyd County. Floyd County is in a karst region, which means we have lime rock underneath, which contributes to the really good water that we have, but it also allows the sinkholes, which is a whole different thing than the drainage wells. The drainage wells are actually controlled by the DNR and not the supervisors.
This is a question for all the candidates. Can you share something about yourself that most people don't know about?
This could be embarrassing. I can do this.
I think that might have been cheating. I don't know, that is a tough one. I don't know. I was scared of Santa Claus till I was like 7.
There's something that you may not know, you may not find very interesting. I actually enjoy rebuilding cars. I've done 1968 and 1969, restoration bottom up. It's just something I enjoy doing. And then that leads into my kids need cars. Well, guess what? I get to do rebuilders for them because they want a nice car. So it's just something I like to do, mainly in the winter time, just to keep me occupied.
Well, I don't know, most people know it or not. I guess I grew up with horses as a kid. We had a riding stable here in Charles City in 1963. I always say Dad came to town with 8 kids and 30 head of horses. So a lot of people don't realize that. But yeah, I grew up around horses and I've ridden over the years on and off and enjoyed that.
I don't know if we got enough time for this. I do like to make beer and wine. I play around in my basement. There's nothing illegal going on down there. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to. But one thing I am the most proud of, and I am the best grandfather in the world. I tell my daughter-in-laws I take great pride in doing everything for those grandkids that they won't let them do.
Well, I don't, not too many know that from about 1993 to about 2010, I was, for the DNR, the frog and toad surveyor for a number of years. I would go out 3 times a year. I had specific locations I would check every year, and we went by what we could hear, because each frog and toad has a different sound. And then we go from none, few to many. I make a report, I send it down to Boone, and I get a t-shirt once a year. So, the only reason I quit is I played up with a day job that required me to get up too early in the morning and had to go in late to enjoy the festivities out in the swamps there. So,
This is a question for all the candidates. Why is it important that people get out and vote for either the county supervisor or the county treasurer?
Well, I think this is one of the basic principles, and this year probably shows it as much as anything, is if you're not happy with things are, vote. If you're happy with things are, vote. The name of the game is to get your voice heard. And so I think it's important for all of us to go out and exercise that right to vote. I always say you don't have any room to complain if you don't vote. So.
It's your way to be a part of the American dream. If you don't express your opinions, nobody knows what you want to do. And we've seen, especially in the county races, one or two votes can swing a race or make the difference. And everything is pretty closely divided these days. So one or two votes will make a big difference. So that's the best thing you can do, vote.
You should vote because it's one of your rights. You have a right to vote. If you don't use it, you probably end up losing it. And you need to, like Doug said here, that sometimes it's just a matter of just one or two, three votes that matter. So everybody needs to go out to vote. Everybody has their chance to say, who do you want into this job? What are my, who follows my values or my needs the best? And nobody else can do it but yourselves. You need to vote for your conscience and follow through with it. So.
Yeah, I think it's very important to vote. I think it's a privilege to vote. And actually, I just took my daughter up to the courthouse the other day. She was not registered yet, and my son just got registered. And I told those kids, it's a privilege to vote, and you should look into the candidates and try to make the best decision you can. And as we leave the auditor's office, Gloria Carr says to my daughter, "Welcome to the voting community."
Well, I think it's in the last few years with the expansion of early voting and things like that, no one really has an excuse not to be able to vote. I mean, it takes very little time. And we also need to remember that a lot of Americans sacrificed a tremendous amount to preserve our right to vote. And many people across the world don't have that right. And if we don't vigorously exercise it, we're putting ourselves in danger of losing it.
I think that it is your right to vote, and it's almost a duty, it's to let people know what you feel, and every vote does count. I mean, you can see that in the election results, and it's your chance to voice your opinion and let everybody know what you feel. But check into the candidates and pick your best one and cast your vote.
Thank you. At this time, we'll ask the candidates to give their closing statements. And just as a reminder, you have up to 90 minutes to do that's it. Be here till midnight. Thank you for the direction. Could you talk for me? Okay, would you start, please? You can.
Oh, I can. It takes you about 90 minutes to get out of the chair. Well, it'd be my honor to be your county supervisor. I think I can provide some new ideas. I think I can help quite a bit with the upcoming problems with the social services since I've been working here for almost 20 years, 28 years if you include having a special needs daughter. I think I can do a good job. I'm open. I like to listen to people. I would enjoy the job. If I don't know the answer, I'm going to tell you. I'll look it up, find out for you. People that do know the answers. And sometimes I don't always hear the question right, as we noticed earlier. And but I think the best thing I can offer you is myself. I think I've worked with people. I've worked with many problems. I've had to solve a lot of problems. I've had to deal with some life-changing things with my clients, and then I've had to deal with just mundane things and making sure they're fed and clothed and housed. So I think I have a broad experience in this. I think I would do a good job. I would be trustworthy and honest, not to say that these people are not. But I think I would do a better job than a lot of people could. So I hope to have your vote on November 6th and vote early and vote often, as they say in Illinois. So, thank you.
8 years ago when I stood up here in front of you, I told you I was definitely not a politician, and that is still a very true statement today. What has not changed is how much I enjoy this job and how I like working for Floyd County. I take every subject seriously, and I think it made Dusty pretty nervous in the beginning that I was out in amongst the county so much. He was a little nervous that I was going to tell him what to do, but I'm just another set of eyes for him. Anyway, when it comes to Floyd County, it's not about being a Democrat or a Republican. The supervisor is all about being a good manager for the county. And I would really like another opportunity to do that for you again. Thank you.
Well, again, I'd like to thank the Charles City Chamber of Commerce, the American Associated Universal Women, and those of you who came out tonight on this cold evening to listen to us boring politicians. And we aren't really politicians because we're locals, we're your neighbors. But I have a number of years of experience as a Floyd County supervisor. I served 4 years. I was 32 years as a fire department. I've been serving people all this time. I do not like running for office. I like doing the job. And I tell people that time and time again. But I always have good feelings when I go out and talk to people. And just the other evening, I talked to a young mother who'd moved here with her husband and a couple of small kids from Colorado. Had a nice discussion. She asked about what Floyd County, what supervisors do. And that's what makes the whole job worthwhile, is talking to people like that are glad to be in Floyd County, glad to be here. My goal is to work for all the citizens of Floyd County, whether they're Democrat, Republican, Independents, I don't care. My job, and whether they vote for me or not, I don't care. I care because if I don't get voted on for, I don't get to do the job. But I'm going to serve all the people in Floyd County. And I need your vote on November 6th to do that. Thank you.
First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I think we had a lot of great questions. I hope you took away something from those questions. I hope you learned a lot about us as a candidate. I think it'd be a privilege to work for you guys, be a county supervisor for you guys, be a strong voice for you, listen to your problems, listen to your thoughts. I guess I look forward to the opportunity, so please vote on November 6th.
I hope you have all found this forum as informative and enjoyable as I have. May I again express my appreciation to the sponsors and the facilitators. I'd also like to acknowledge everyone else in the group for their willingness to be involved in the electoral process. I'm excited about the improvements that are to be made in the courthouse building. A modern heating and cooling system will be a change that is welcomed by both the public and the county staff. As this project moves forward, in the next couple of years, it will provide challenges to the individual offices as they attempt to continue to serve the public while under construction. It's my hope that when all the construction is finished, the building will be better able to serve the public far into the future. I found being county treasurer is a challenging yet rewarding position. Being the custodian of all the county's funds and collecting property taxes is a large responsibility that is improved by online payment options. Titling and annually registering all the vehicles in the county is another duty. The number of vehicles registered on the internet continues to increase. Ensuring drivers are licensed in a manner that provides for the safety of the public is important. Changes such as Real ID and required documentation for CDL issuance make driver's license issuing demanding. These various responsibilities make the position interesting and have allowed me to use my education and experience to benefit the citizens. I'd like to continue to work for the people of Floyd County as county treasurer. Please mark my name on the ballot.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming out and listening to us. And I look forward to hopefully the opportunity to serve you. I go out, I've been walking around Charles City, letting people meet me, and hopefully I'll meet all you guys. I only ask two things of you. One, you forget how bad I am at public speaking, and second was the Santa Claus comment. Thank you.
Thank you to the candidates tonight. I would like, Deb Roberts is in the audience, so would you stand, please? So Deb is available. She's running unopposed, but please stop and talk to her tonight on your way out. Grab some cookies, water. Also, Todd Pritchards is in the audience. Todd, you get to stand too. And the same for Todd. Please stop and talk to him if you have any questions on the way out. I'd like to also thank Mark Wicks from the Chamber. He's been very helpful. And we'd like to thank you all for coming, and please get out and vote November 6th. That is so important to have your voice heard. If you haven't registered, there are cards over there on the table just east of the water, so you can register. And you can register up to October 27th online. It's actually sls.iowa.gov/register. So we'd like to thank you for coming and have a good evening.